Once upon a time, in a well-known city called Ndalama, there lived a wealthy family that had only one son, Calib, who was pressured to get married early. But Calib wanted a responsible wife, so he decided to disguise himself and shifted to a neighboring village to live the life of a lonely, poor man in hope of finding a responsible lady to take in as his wife. Ndalama was a city known for flexing. It was almost impossible to find a decent lady in Ndalama city. When Calib told his parents about his plan, they were very much against it. They could not imagine their one and only son, the heir to such a massive empire, living in a poor village like a lonely, poor, wretched man. However, Calib convinced them by saying that he was already well known by almost everyone in Ndalama city as their son, and so every woman would be willing to do anything just so that they could win his heart, even hiding their true nature, pretending to be who they are not in order to impress him. His parents eventually saw eye to eye with Calib's plan and allowed him to go ahead with his plan. But they only gave him 2 years to return with a bride home, or they would have to provide one for him themselves, and he would be left with no choice but to accept any woman they chose for him. So for the next few months, Calib left his hair unkept and his beard unattended to, so he would look very messy and wretched. After that, he went to the market and got himself some very cheap clothes. From there, he started his journey to the nearest village just so he could find a wife. When Calib got to the bus station, voila, a bus driver asked him where he wanted to go. Calib thought for a while and answered the driver, "I was a trader, but I lost all that I had. I'm looking for a village with good and kind people where I can reestablish myself from scratch." The driver looked at Calib with pity and compassion, and then he said to him, "Let me take you to my village. My people are very nice and you will have no difficulty reestablishing yourself over there." So Calib thanked Walia, the bus driver, and boarded his bus. They drove for a very long time, and after so many hours, they arrived at the village. Unlike Ndalama city, the village was so underdeveloped, but they had the basic social facilities. Walia took Calib to his home and introduced him to his wife and children. Walia's wife welcomed Calib wholeheartedly. After her husband explains to her about Calib's problem, she prepared a room for him in their home. It was a very small, bare, neat room, but Calib didn't complain. The next day, Calib began his mission of finding a responsible lady he could marry. Adapting to their way of life was very difficult for him, but he was determined to see it through to the end. He started by finding a job and eventually got one at the market square. He was given a wheelbarrow, and his job was to carry foodstuff for customers from the market to their homes. Calib was well built, so the job wasn't too difficult for him. Most of the people he offered his services were so rude and unkind to him. They disrespected and talked down on him because of the way he was dressed and what he did for a living. After staying in the village for a year and some months, Calib was already giving up on the idea of ever finding a responsible bride. He made up his mind to accept whoever his parents were going to provide for him, because it was already almost 2 years. He discussed with Walia and told him that he wishes to take a bride, but all the ladies he has met in the past months were all rude and harsh towards him. However, Walia urged him not to give up yet. Instead, he suggested that Calib went to a different market rather than the one he had been frequenting since he came to the village. Perhaps there, he would meet new people, as some villagers preferred going to other markets. But he warned Calib that wheelbarrow pushers didn't earn a lot of money there. A week later, after Calib started frequenting the suggested market, he saw 2 ladies in the market while he was searching around for customers. They had just finished buying quite a lot, so he ran to them, offering to help them carry their purchase. Their names were Beatrice and Lilian. They obliged, but while Beatrice was rude to Calib, Lilian was kind towards him as he carried their purchase on his wheelbarrow to their house. Beatrice warned him severally to ensure that none of their products dropped on the floor, while Lilian urged him to be careful, saying that the road ahead was not smooth. When they got to their house, Beatrice went inside their hut and instructed Lilian to pack the items inside the store. Calib offered to help her with the task. When he was done, he asked her, "Why is your sister rude to you? Why did she leave all the work for you? She's my stepsister and she's older than me. So I guess it's my responsibility to do whatever she instructs." They talked a little bit more before she called on Beatrice, her elder sister, to pay Calib. Beatrice came and threw the money on the floor for Calib to pick like a beggar. Then she went back inside. Lilian apologized for her sister's rudeness and thanked Calib for helping her with the task. From the last conversation Calib had with Lilian, he got to know that Lilian was an orphan. Her mother died many years ago, and her father took in another wife who was already Beatrice's mother. A few years later, her father also died, leaving her at the mercy of her stepmother, Ruth. Lilian was being maltreated and ordered around like a slave. She did all the washing, cooking, cleaning, and all the chores of the house. She had nowhere else to go, so she had to enjoy it all. Although Beatrice was more beautiful than Lilian, Calib had already fallen deeply in love with Lilian's personality. The next day, Calib asked Wallace's wife about Lilian. The village was a small one, and everyone knew each other. Wallace's wife told Calib that Lilian was a very nice and humble lady, and almost everyone in the village loved and admired her. Calib then asked, saying, "If she's loved and admired by everyone, why isn't she married yet?" "Well, you see, Lilian had many suitors, my dear. But Ruth, her stepmother, is very wicked. When a wealthy man comes for Lilian's hand in marriage, Ruth will insist that the man should marry her daughter, Beatrice, instead. Ruth would go ahead and say all sorts of bad things about Lilian, just to make the suitor reconsider his decision." Calib felt very sad after hearing about Lilian and what she had been going through in the hands of her stepmother, Ruth. So he made up his mind that he was going to marry her. The next day, Calib took his wheelbarrow to the market, expecting to see Lilian. However, he didn't see her for the next few days until a week later, when he was fortunate to see her in the market all alone. He quickly ran to where she stood and placed the sack she held in his wheelbarrow. Lilian laughed. "Oh my God, it isn't too heavy. I can carry it myself. Besides, I don't have any money to pay you today." "Don't worry, today I will save you for free," Calib said. So, Calib followed her until she bought everything she came to buy at the market, and then helped her to carry the goods home. But he didn't reach her compound. He stopped a few miles to the compound so that her stepmother wouldn't query her for allowing Calib to help her. This continued on for some months. Whenever Lilian went to the market, she would spend time there because she was always with Calib. They both enjoyed each other's company. However, her stepmother noticed that Lilian had been spending more time in the market over the months and asked Beatrice to monitor her. On that particular day, which Beatrice was asked to monitor Lilian, Lilian and Calib were spending some time with each other, talking and laughing after she had finished buying what she came to buy at the market. On their way home, Calib told Lilian that he had fallen in love with her and would like to marry her. Lilian was shocked at the statement. "But you don't even know me," she protested. "I know you are kind and generous, Lilian. I want you in my life. Please say you would marry me. Please say you would marry me, Lilian. You are equally a hardworking and kind man, Calib. But I'm afraid my stepmother wouldn't make it easy for you. Don't worry about her. If you feel the same way I do, I will take care of the rest." Lilian didn't understand what Calib meant by he would take care of the rest. but she accepted to marry him. In joy, Calib lifted her up and held her in a tight embrace. Unknown to them, Beatrice was looking at them from afar. Beatrice quickly caught up to them and laughed at the both of them. A slave! Falling in love with a beggar. What a perfect couple. I think you suit each other just fine. Don't worry, my mom would hear about this very soon. She then walked away, leaving Lilian and Calib shocked. Calib urged Lilian not to worry, but this time he followed her home to meet her stepmother. When they arrived, Ruth was already waiting for Lilian at the door. Immediately Lilian showed up. She gave her a hot slap and asked her to kneel under the hot sun. Calib felt deeply hurt and sad. Out of anger, he told Ruth that he loved Lilian and would like to marry her. Ruth laughed heartily at his statement and looked at him from head to toe. You wretched poor fool. You can't even afford to take care of yourself, yet alone taking care of this thing called Lilian. I believe we can manage, ma. Please, what would it take to have her as my wife? Well, if you love her so much, I would have given her to you for free, because she's very useless to me. But tradition is tradition, and it demands that you provide some items. Then give me a list and I will have the items ready in a week's time, if that's all it takes. Ruth felt insulted by Calib's air of arrogancy, so she went inside the house and wrote a long list of expensive items. Out of anger, she returned and threw the list at him, but the wind blew the paper on which the things were written to where Lilian knelt down. She picked it up and glanced at the items. On seeing the amount it all totaled, Lilian cried out. Calib collected the list from her and simply looked at the total and told her that he would be back in a week as he had promised. Ruth laughed at him as he left, believing that Calib, a common wheelbarrow pusher, cannot afford the items even if he worked every single minute of his life. Calib went back to Walia's house that afternoon. Walia was at home when he arrived. Calib told him to take him back to Ndalama City. Walia was surprised at his sudden request, but took him as he had requested. When they got to the motor park where they had first met, Calib told Walia to take him to a particular company. Calib, are you sure? That company is one of the biggest company in Ndalama City. Even the most wealthiest people are denied access. Talk more of a struggling man like you. Don't worry. Just take me there and I will pay you. Walia did as Calib instructed and took him to the company he requested. They arrived at the company, and immediately when the guards outside saw Calib, they quickly raced towards him and collected the bag he was holding. Walia was so shocked at their reaction. Calib asked the guards to pay Walia, and they gave him a bundle of new notes exceedingly above the price he had mentioned and agreed with Calib. Calib thanked Walia for everything and entered the company. After promising to reach out to him later, Calib went straight to meet his father in his office and informed him that he had found the woman he wanted to marry. Coincidentally, his mother also entered the office at the same time with a very beautiful lady. She was so shocked when she saw Calib dressed like a beggar with dirt and bushy hair. Mom, Dad, I have found the woman I want to marry. You gave me 2 years, but I was able to do it in a year and some months. Calib's father hugged him happily, but his mother appeared a little disappointed. Just when the lady who came in with Calib's mother heard what Calib said, she rushed out of the office with Calib's mother running after her. Calib didn't understand what was happening, but his father explained to him that his mother already had someone she wanted him to marry even before he went in search of his own bride. Calib's father welcomed him wholeheartedly and granted him the permission to marry Lilian. In 1 week, Calib returned to Walia, the bus driver's village, with a convoy of luxury cars and a bullion van which contained all the items Ruth had written down on the list. When Bwalya and his family saw him, they couldn't believe their eyes. Calib bought Bwalya a new big bus and gave him a lot of money to take care of his family. He then went to see Ruth. Beatrice and her mother, Ruth, were so shocked to see Calib looking young and handsome, as opposed to the messy and unkempt man they knew him to be. The bullion van was parked in front of their house, and some muscular guys started to upload its content at Ruth's front door. Lilian was equally shocked by Calib's appearance. She even got upset that Calib lied to her about his true status. Calib ran after her and pleaded for her forgiveness. He explained his reason for doing what he did, and Lilian understood him. They embraced and hugged each other, then entered in one of the cars. Beatrice tried to be nice to Calib on seeing how wealthy he was, but Calib ignored her and drove off. When Calib arrived in Dalama City with Lilian, he took her to the best hair salon and fashion brand. When they were done fixing Lilian up, she looked even more beautiful than her stepsister Beatrice and the lady his mother had previously brought to him. Calib then took Lilian to his home and introduced her to his family. His father embraced Lilian and accepted her as his daughter-in-law, while his mother respected his wishes and welcomed Lilian into the family. In a few months' time, they had the best luxury wedding of the year. Their wedding became the talk of the town. It was the feast of the year, and they lived happily and joyfully ever after. The moral lesson of this story reminds us that no matter our condition or situation, we should always be humble and hardworking in all we do. The people around you would be a testament to your personality, and this would open great doors of opportunities for you, because lots of people will be willing to stand up for you. Bwalya, the bus driver, got a new bus and favor from Calib because he was kind even to a complete stranger. So despite how cruel the world may be, always show kindness, because you never know which of your random acts of kindness will unlock doors of favor to you. Thank you so much for watching the story. Please let me know the beautiful country you are watching us from. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to read them. So until next time, stay tuned. God bless you. Bye.